Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan, and I want to tell you that you are doing this shit wrong. In today's video, I want to talk to you about just some bullshit that I've really seen in the industry when it comes to teaching you how to perform a proper analysis of a property. I see it on forums all the time, videos, ebooks, whatever teaching stuff is out there, and I think the majority of people teach this incorrectly. So I have a little bit of a different stance, and in this video, I want to talk to you about why you're probably running your comps and doing your analysis wrong, and what a property is really worth, right? So this is just my take on it. I think most people will disagree, but I've learned a lot of things the hard way in this business, and this has really helped me, this little tweak that I'm about to give you. So a little disclaimer here, there's no rule for everything. So there are exceptions to the rule about what I'm going to talk about today. So just know that going in, and let's jump right into it. So this video topic, the inspiration, comes from a question from one of my students. And essentially, she just finished watching a video where I recommended not to spend more than 5 minutes analyzing a deal. So here's what she says. Why only spend 5 minutes analyzing a deal? At the time that you would go to look at the property, aren't you supposed to be ready to make an offer? But you would not be able to make an offer if you have not looked into the house to see what repairs were needed and work it up on a spreadsheet. I've been telling sellers that I will run comps on the property and give him an offer via phone call, and then thereafter go look at the property. What are the proper procedures when analyzing a deal and taking a look at the property? All right, so my response to her in retrospect is it's a little bit scattered, but stick with me here. And again, remember the disclaimer. There are exceptions to everything, and we'll touch on some of those in a minute. Okay, so first thing, like I said, it depends on the deal. Yes, when making an offer on an REO, for example, versus dealing with an 80-year-old homeowner, sure, you're going to have a different approach. Next, I want you to realize that speed and volume win this game. Third, don't get attached to any one deal or lead. Man, I have lost deals literally the day before closing, so don't do that. Fourth bullet point here, most of the time, your analysis is overrated and or irrelevant. We'll get into that in more details in a bit. And number 5, also very, very important here, negotiations do not stop when you get a property under contract, right? All right, so now let's try and break this down, and we're going to start with a hypothetical. So let's say you and we're both wholesalers, and we're driving through the same market. We both drive by the same house. There's a tarp on the roof. Looks like it's in need of some serious work, and we drive by on a Friday afternoon. So you go to the home, right? Take the address down. Then you go home. You run your comps. You skip trace the owner. By chance, you find the phone number. And again, hypothetical, highly, highly unlikely you're going to skip trace someone and get their phone number same day. But like I said, stick with me hypothetically here. And you call them. You get them on the phone. You ask them about the repairs. You run your numbers. You do your best estimate, and you schedule to see the house. You're going to come and you're going to make this offer, right? Okay. Now my take. I see this house, same Friday. I jump on my smartphone. Now I don't have access to my paid comps on my phone for whatever reason. So what do? I just maybe I go to Zillow. And again, I won't look at this estimate. I don't recommend doing that. But I can go see similar home sales. Not for sale, but sales that have actually happened. I pull it up on a map view and I can see, okay, well, within these couple of blocks, this house looks similar, and this one, and they all sold for about 100. So let me estimate about 100 this thing is worth. And repairs, well, I can see from the outside the roof's kind of jacked up. Inside's probably a little bit jacked up. I don't know. I'm just going to pull a number out of thin air. I'm going to say 10 grand in repairs, right? And now I'm going to go knock on this dude's house. And I'm going to say, hey, listen, I'm an investor in the area. I'm buying some houses, and I'm making an offer right now, cash offer. I can make it at 80,000. I just need a little time to do an inspection, but I can pay 80 grand cash for this house, tomorrow if the title's clean, basically. And let's say that I just do that on the spot, right? Again, hypothetical, unlikely, but just stick with me here for the purpose of this example, right? So by Saturday afternoon, I've done this to 15 properties, knocked on the doors and made this offer on the spot. And let's say in my last example, the dude that I offered the 80 grand, let's say he accepted my contract, right? So Saturday afternoon, next day, I've got that guy who's accepted my contract. I've knocked on 15 doors. I'm not recommending knocking on doors, by the way, but let's just say I did. And I have the one that you wanted, the same one that you saw, under contract, meaning that I control it. So now you've spent your time, your energy, and your resources on something that you have no control over. There's nothing you can do. You can't obtain that. So even if I don't sell this one, by the way, let's say of the other 15 I knocked on, I got 5 or 8 of those, a contract on those. So even if I don't sell one of them, what are the chances that I'll sell another one, right? So just by law of averages, I've got a better chance of doing a deal, right? Whereas what do you have? You really have nothing. So which of us is going to be more successful in the long term? So remember, the most important thing is controlling the property. While you're taking all that time to do your analysis and work up your numbers, anybody else can swoop in and take that deal. So really your efforts are in vain. So now let's say if you do tie the property up like I did for $80,000 and somebody comes along and they offer $200,000. Doesn't matter. The seller can't take that offer. Even though it's double my offer, I have an executed contract. And let's say, for example, the seller does try and cut you out and go get that $200,000 offer. If you've got an executed contract, there are ways you can actually cloud the title. When they go to close, they won't be able to close. You file a notice of interest in the public record, and then when they go to run lien search and check the title out, it's clouded. And the only way they'll be able to close is if they come through you. So that's why you always want to have that contract first. So now let's talk about some of the what ifs in this hypothetical situation. So the first one, what if the seller doesn't accept my on-the-spot offer? Well, it's just likely that they're not motivated. So you're going to find about 100 times more people that want to sell than need to sell. And that's just a part of the game. I mean, you just got to know that going in, right? So remember, I did a video where I talked about, comparing this to mining for gold. And you're not trying to turn the gold, you're not trying to turn the dirt into gold. You're sifting through the dirt to find the gold. So you're sifting through, you'll find more of what you don't want to get to what you do want, if that makes sense. You cannot make a seller motivated. Instead, you just understand that there are motivated sellers and your job is to try to find them. It's the same way you don't turn dirt into gold, like I said. So again, gold exists and you filter through the dirt to find it. You're playing the numbers game. So the next one is, what if I offer too high? And my response here, controversial, is going to be, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to tell you why. So here's where most new wholesalers screw up, and with the public info, just kind of sucks. I mean, it's garbage. It's what I was referring to in the beginning of the video. So you're taught to analyze, to make sure that you can make a profit, and you got to get that number right. So you're told to, run the comps this way, and then you got to do your repair estimate and make sure those numbers are tight, and then you got to be at this certain percentage, blah, blah, blah. So in reality, like I talked about a moment ago, you've got to control the contract, control the deal first. And in the beginning, these seller negotiations can be tough. So you can't always get a seller to agree to your number. So if that doesn't happen, most wholesalers walk away. So I'm going to suggest that you do not do that. And if you suspect that based on just your rough estimate, which again can be wrong, so you just got to accept that, and there are times where it will be wrong, by the way. But if based on your rough estimates and maybe what you see visually driving by, or just some kind of intuition lead you to believe, hey, there could be some profit in this deal, it's worth pursuing, then I'm going to tell you to go ahead and control the property first, even at the risk of offering too high. So let's go into an example to illustrate this point. Now, let's say a property, based on your numbers, you've got this sneaky suspicion that this thing is worth about $100,000. So you want to try and get the seller to, let's say, $70,000, but they refuse, and it's really hard to get them to this number. Reasons: they're not committed to you, they want to explore other options, whatever it is. But you can get them to agree to $80,000, and it's high. But you go ahead and you get the executed contract. So you write up a contract for $80,000, and now what do you have? You have control. So you go ahead, you advertise the property to your buyers at $90,000, and you just want an offer. Any offer will do. And let's say you get an offer of $80,000. So it looks like there's no profit, right? Your contract, you're purchasing for $80,000, then you've got a cash buyer who's going to buy it for $80,000. So it looks like there's no profit. So you're like, Mike, the hell are you talking about here? And I'll tell you why this is good. So again, it's a good thing. First, you've obviously got to qualify your cash buyer. So, make sure they're legit, sign a purchase agreement with them, have them put up a non-refundable deposit. In the case where you're doing a double close, what you want to do is put into your B2C contract. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have videos on double closing and contracts, so go watch that. But essentially, in your B2C contract, you want to write that this deal is contingent on you closing on the A to B purchase, the purchase with the seller. And the reason you want to put this in there, and again, I have another video about this and a report where I talk about these little clauses that you can put into your contracts to really protect yourself. But it's just that you're letting the end buyer know that you're flipping it to them. You don't have to tell them for how much or anything like that. The double closing, that's one of the benefits there. It's more opaque. They don't see what you're making. But they do know that it's contingent on you completing the first leg of the transaction. And the reason you want to put that in there is because if for any reason that A to B transaction does not happen, then they can't come after you and sue you for failure to perform. So it's just another way to protect yourself. So went off on a tangent there. But okay, so you've got this cash buyer. They're going to buy this thing at 80. So now you know exactly where you need to be. You need to be at $80,000. And because you have an inspection period, now you can go back to the seller and negotiate a price reduction, right? So when you normally get a property under contract, you don't know if it's going to sell. You don't know what kind of offer you're going to get. You're just kind of putting it out there. You're advertising it. You're putting it out to your list. You don't know what's going to come in. But now you know where you need to be. This thing is selling for 80. So you know if you can get the seller to come down to 70,000, you make 10,000. If you can get him to come to 75,000, you make 5,000, right? So you know exactly where you need to be. And you can frame this again. You put your contract together properly, meaning you have your inspection period, and you can come back and say anything really. Based on our inspection findings, we have to reduce the price because of blah, blah, blah. You can blame it on your partner. My partner won't move forward unless here. During inspection, we found other comps. Oh, well, we looked at the repairs. It looks like it's going to be a little bit more than we estimated based on our number. Whatever it is, you just tell them you need this price reduction. Also, just another side note that I'm going to make here. If by chance this is listed with an agent, if they're working with a real estate agent, number one, you always want to work with the agent. These are your partners, right? So if it's, again, $80,000 and you want to get it down to 70 and you ask for just a price reduction, now what happens is, let's say the agent is making 6% commission on there. Now they make 6% commission at $80,000. When you ask for a reduction down to 70, now they're only making 6% on $70,000, and you're messing with their pockets. So you don't want to mess with their money, number one, because you just don't want to mess with someone's money. And number two, you want to establish these good relationships because these are the same real estate agents who will later down the line come and bring you deals because, you're creating this win-win situation. So what you can do is instead of just requesting a price reduction, you can request a credit on the HUD, meaning that let's say it's 80,000, you want to get it down to 70 because of repairs or whatever. You tell them, I just need a $10,000 credit on the HUD. So what that means is essentially the contract still says $80,000, so that real estate agent will get their commission on the $80,000, but due to that credit, you'll still pay $70,000 for the house. Side note there. Okay, but remember, when we started this thing, the seller would not agree. They wouldn't go into contract with us for $70,000. So you're like, Mike, why would they do that now? And here's where the psychology gets very interesting. And there are actually a couple of reasons why this works. And I've seen this time and time again, even with what seem like the most stubborn of sellers. And so there are a lot of reasons why this works, a lot of psychological reasons, but I just want to list out, I've got 3 listed here. So the first one, they've already committed to you. They sign that purchase agreement. And as human beings, when we make decisions, our minds will look for ways to justify the decisions that we've made thereafter. So that's the first one. Number 2, they've anticipated this closing. So they felt the relief of selling. This is a done deal. It's one less thing that they have to worry about. They've mentally envisioned the sale taking place. They've already made plans that are contingent on this closing happening. If there's profit there, they've mentally spent that money already. And then the third thing is that the thought of starting over is very painful. So, who's to say that if they go into contract with another buyer that the same thing won't happen? People are also more motivated by potential loss than gain. So they won't want to lose what they already have, which is this contract, the potential sale with you. So think about it this way, right? What's a stronger motivator to you? If I offered to give you $100, or if I said, hey, I'm going to take $100 out of your bank account. So again, we're just more motivated by by fear of loss. So for all of these reasons, at this point, especially if you're getting close to closing, or you've got a short closing date there, the seller is so much more likely to give you that price reduction at this point in the process than they were when you guys were first starting off, right? So you go back to the seller to get the price reduction, and again, you'll know exactly how much you're going to make because the property is essentially pre-sold to your end buyer, in this case for $80,000. So, there's something else I wanted here. Okay, it'll come back to me. So again, I just want to stress that your analysis, we're getting into the next part here, doesn't mean anything. And there is so much emphasis on comps and doing your comps properly in this game. So if you're rehabbing, then the comps absolutely matter. Your numbers got to be on point, and you need to use paid comps, and you've got to do a really thorough analysis. But for the average wholesaler, the average deal, and of course, like I said before, there are exceptions to every rule. I think you spend way too much time and resources, doing this stuff. I mean, I've got people who are there, and they're like, I got to see the property, or they've got the property appraiser sketch, and okay, well, the square footage is this, and I need this many pieces of drywall, and they're trying to work it out. And let me tell you why this is wrong. So, do you want to know what your property is really worth? What the property is worth? I'm going to pause for effect here. Give a little drum roll. The property is worth what your cash buyer is willing to pay for it. Period. That's what the property is worth. And yes, the estimate, your numbers help you to make an intelligent offer. So yeah, you got to be in the ballpark. But like I said, you don't need to go through this very detailed thing, because at the end of the day, it's what your buyers are willing to pay for it. And there's no one buyer. Every buyer's got their own set of criteria. They buy for different reasons. Some are very rational. Some make emotional decisions. I've had deals that I thought were absolute like slam dunks. I ran the numbers and I was like, this is an easy 20 grand. I'm going to make a shitload of money. I'm going to do so well on this deal. I'm going to mark it up more than I usually do. And I got not a single call, nothing. And then I've had deals where I was like, well, maybe it's worth 100, but the numbers are really skinny. I could try to sell it for what, 95 or something. I don't think it's gonna sell. Should I even put it out to my buyers list? Am I gonna lose some credibility? And I put it out, and I got multiple offers day of, within a couple hours, and actually drove the price up, got into a bidding war, made more than I had listed it for, and there were multiple people trying to get this deal. So the point here is that you just never know what your buyers are looking for. So again, realize that there are different types of buyers and they buy for different reasons. So, if you've got a rehabber, for example, this is someone who wants to fix the property up and sell it within a couple months. This guy's got to pay for insurance, then they got to pay closing costs on the buy, then closing costs on the sell. A lot of people are using hard money, so they're paying 15% for the money plus 3 or 4 points. And there are a lot more costs involved. And so, they want to flip it very quickly. So they need to buy with a larger spread. They need more spread in there to make a decent profit. And then you've got people who are buying for the long term. Maybe they want to be landlords. And so if a house is worth $100,000 and they just want to put a Section 8 tenant in there and hold it for the next 50 years, they don't need that huge spread. Maybe they're comfortable paying $90,000. They're like, yeah, I got a little bit of a discount, but I want to hold it. And I really like this area. That's into the next people. Some people just like buying in certain areas. Some people, they buy based on market speculation that the market's going to go up. Like we're taught, obviously, to make your money on the buy, but not everyone does that. I've seen people, they just buy, based on market speculation. You've got people, let's say international buyers. It's another good one where they may not be confident in the currency of their government, that it's going to have the same value next year, and they're just looking for a place to park their money. They may be comfortable paying for more than a property is worth. Maybe worth 100. They might be willing to pay 110 because they like that area in Miami Beach and they, want just a safe place to park their money. So you don't know what your buyers are. Your job is not to try to run these analysis for them, because any intelligent buyer is not going to take your word for it, first of all. For seller, a lot of times you're basing a lot of your stuff, even repairs, for example, on what the homeowner is telling you, and a lot of them are either going to be full of shit, or maybe they just don't know any better. So you've got those numbers are kind of skewed from the beginning. But again, any intelligent investor is going to do their own work up their own numbers and see what works for them. So yes, you've got to be in the ballpark with a quick analysis, but if this deep analysis is typically not a very good use of your time, because, like I said a moment ago, it really doesn't matter. And yes, again, there are exceptions to this rule. Like, for example, if you've built up some rapport with someone and you're dealing with a motivated individual owner, often not represented by an agent, you can go in and do your inspection, spend some time there. But even then, check this out, right? Let's say, you're talking to this motivated seller and you say, okay, I'm going to come in and do all of my inspections right now. And you're writing down all these details, you're taking measurements, pictures, all this stuff. And then after you do what appears to be, your main inspection, then you send your buyers in. So next you've got your first partner that goes in, and then your hard money lender that goes in, and then your contractor that goes in. All your cash buyers who are going to see this place, particularly if it's not on lockbox, and the owner or a tenant or someone is seeing all these people come through. And then like a week later, you're asking for this price reduction, maybe because you get an offer. Like, that can come off a little bit as a red flag. It's kind of weird. And but if you do it this way, where you just say, hey, here's the offer, and then I'll be coming in or sending my partner in to do inspections, and then during your inspection period, maybe a couple people stop in, and then you ask for the price reduction. Well, then that makes a little bit more sense, a little bit more congruent with what you initially presented yourself as. So that's just another reason why you don't need to go in and do all this detailed analysis and workups on the property. So again, just another thing, don't get attached to any one deal. You really just want to focus on getting a lot of offers out there. As a side note, if you're dealing with like REOs, bank-owned stuff, or even listed properties, you should be even faster, because I'm telling you, man, like, you could wait 24 hours and the deal will be gone. And there are times where you could wait a couple of hours and the deal will be gone. That's how fast some of these things move. So again, I guess I just want to leave you with, there's just this tendency to do an over-analysis when it really doesn't matter. So if you do that, you'll tend to, a couple things I have here, you'll lose deals to more aggressive wholesalers and buyers who are just faster than you. You won't make as many offers overall. You'll waste your time and efforts, and oftentimes burn out. And you won't pursue leads that don't match your numbers, even though, like I said, because they're buyers buying with different criteria, there could still be profit in those deals. So that's pretty much all I got for you in this video. Again, there are exceptions to the rule and stuff like that. So if you have questions on some of this stuff, please leave a comment. You can always hit me up, as always, on Facebook. Questions. Please like the video, subscribe, and again, hopefully the next question that I answer will be from you. So hopefully you got some value on this one today, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks, guys.